Hey everybody, this is Games Plus James, and welcome back to our retro first-person shooter tutorial series. Now we've got our enemies able to fire at us, we can fire back at them and destroy them, we can take damage from them, but we don't have this being displayed to us on our screen. We'd really like to be able to actually see what's happening to our player in our game. So we're going to add some UI elements for us to use. So first thing I'm going to do is go to my UI canvas. I'm going to double click on it so we can see it a bit better. Then I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a UI image that we'll call health box, and I'm going to drag this down into the bottom corner here. We can set it in the corner or just slightly above the corner. We'll go outside the corner a tiny little bit, kind of like so. We want to change how this looks, so I'm just going to very simply change the color of this to be a kind of darker green color. And we'll add an outline to it as well. Outline, like so. Let's make it a little bit wider. 3 by 3 should be okay. And we'll make sure it's not transparent. And then I'm going to increase the size of it like this. So it takes up a little chunk of area in the corner. Then we're going to add some text to it. So we're going to add UI text. And we're going to make this say health. I'm going to align this to the right, like so, and I'm going to put it up in not quite the top corner. We don't want it to snap into position, but roughly about there, and then we'll make this take up this kind of area here to roughly about halfway. We're going to change our font to be a font that's included down here, which is the Pixelnots font, like so. We're going to change our color to be a nice white. We're going to add an outline to this as well. So again, we'll make it a little bit bigger. Let's go with 2 by 2 this time. Pull the alpha all the way up. And we're going to increase the size of our font. We're going to make sure we turn best fit on. And then we're going to increase the max size like that. So health. And then what we're going to do is create another duplicate of this. So I'm going to right click here, create a duplicate. And we're going to name this value. And we're going to name the other one label. And then value, we're going to make it by default just say 100%. So we've got 100% health here. Then we'll click and drag this down to roughly about there. Okay, so we got 100% health by default. Let's also then, while we have this one in place, go ahead and add one to the other side. So on our health box, I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to rename this to be ammo. Oop, didn't mean to open that there. Ammo box, like so. And this guy, we're going to move over to the other side, all the way over here. Again, we don't necessarily want it to snap to the corner, so we'll just put it about there. And for this one, we're going to make sure all the text this time is aligned to the left. So I see they're kind of a bit close to the edges of their boxes, so I'm going to move the text labels over a little bit, like so. And the same for the other side. I'm going to move these text labels away from the edge a little bit like that. Then the boxes themselves are still quite big, so I'm going to drag this guy. Oop, try this again. They're aligned to the center. Hold on 1 second. This is why working with Unity UI can be a little bit finicky sometimes. So I'm just going to click and drag that in. We'll do the same for these guys. Set them to be left anchor point. And then drag that in. Okay, so we've got our health and our health. Let's rename these. So the label for this one will be ammo, and the value will just be however much ammo we have. So let's just say it's 50 to start off with. So we've got those there. We obviously need to update them when things change in our game. So let's go into our player controller script. We're going to need a reference to those things we just added. So on our player controller, at the top up here, we're going to be using Unity engine.ui, and then down here we're going to have 2 public text objects. So the first one will be our health text, and the second one will be our ammo text. So you can see here this is a slightly different way of adding. When you want to add two variables that are the exact same, you can just add them with like a little comma between them. And if I save this, these will be added in as 2 separate labels to our player here. just in case you haven't seen that before. You can see, there we go, we got our health text and our ammo text. So let's add them in there. So we're going to grab the value for our health and put it in there, and the value for our ammo and put it in there. So as soon as our game starts, we want to make sure that we have accurate values for all of these on screen. So let's go back into our script, and in the start function, so we set our current health to be our maximum health. Then we're going to say our health text dot text equals whatever our current health is. So our current health amount that we've just set to be our maximum health dot to string. So we're converting that to a string, and then after that we're going to add on the percentage symbol behind it. So we have our current health, which will be 100, plus percentage, which will be a little percentage symbol here. Then for our ammo text, we want to say ammo text dot text equals current ammo dot to string, because all we want to do is convert that number to a string that can be displayed in the text box. Okay, so that's it for when we start. So just to demonstrate that this is working, let's go ahead in here. I'm going to change the player health amounts to be I'll just change it to 50 for the moment, just so we can see it actually happening correctly. So if I press play, you should see there our health is 50% and our ammo is 10. So both of those are updating correctly the way we want them to. Let's reset this back to be 100, because 10 or 50% health is not great for a maximum. So our current ammo, we'll also update this to be starting off with 30. Okay, so back in our player controller, we need to update this whenever some stuff happens. So we're going to update the health stuff first of all. So our health gets affected whenever we take damage or add health. So when we take damage, we're going to, no matter what, doesn't matter whether we're below 0, we're going to update our health text. Now the only thing is, if our current health goes below 0, and so say we have -2 health for some strange reason, we don't want to display on the screen that we have -2% health in our little UI down here. So we're going to make sure if our current health is ever below or equal to 0, so there's a chance we could be below 0, we're always going to say our current health equals 0. So we always want to make sure our current health is displayed as 0. Now I know our dead screen has been activated and it's hiding what we can see, but just in case you treat it differently in your game and you don't hide your health behind the dead screen, we want to make sure that it appears here. We also, when we want to add health, we want to do the same thing. We want to get our health text and paste that in there like that. Now, for updating our ammo, I'm actually going to create a new function here. Public void update ammo UI. And I'm going to paste in our little ammo text. Did I just copy that a second ago? I don't know if I did or not. I immediately forgot. So I'm going to copy that again and just paste it in there. And the reason we're doing this is because if we go here, so when we have our current ammo and we're shooting, that's fine. We're taking away one bit of ammo, so we would want to use it there. But since we made this function, let's go ahead and use the function we just did. But we're also picking up ammo at certain points. So I'm going to save this. Let's go to our ammo pickup. And here we're telling the player controller to pick up some ammo. So when we do that, we'll also call the player controller .instance .update ammo UI. Now really we should probably create a function on the player to update the ammo, which would call this bit of information as well, but we'll just go with this way. It's just quick and simple at the moment. So with that in mind then, let's go ahead and test this out to make sure it's working. So all of those things should be doing what we want. If I press play, when we shoot, you can see our ammo going down. When I run over and pick up the ammo, there we go, we get that updating. Our health is 100 at the moment, so let's let the enemy shoot us. You can see our health going down. Let's take this guy out before he does too much damage. And that's perfect. So now we have our ammo pickup working, but we're not seeing if our health pickup is working because we haven't actually created a health pickup yet. So we'll quickly do that. Our health pickup is nice and simple. It's basically going to be our ammo pickup, which is here. We haven't actually made this a prefab yet, so I'm going to make that a prefab. Then I'm going to go here. I'm going to break this. I'm going to unpack the prefab, sorry. And I'm going to rename this to be our health pickup. I'm going to change the image we're using. I'm going to call this health. Let's go into our pickups folder, and I'm going to drop the med kit on there like that. We're going to change, instead of using the ammo pickup script, I'm going to delete that. And we're going to go to our scripts and add a health pickup script. We'll open this up here. And this is basically going to have the same stuff as our ammo pickup. So I'm going to copy and paste everything we have here. Obviously below the class name, we don't want to copy that. So I'm going to go back over here, paste that all in there. And we're going to change this to be health amount. And down here, instead of updating that, what we're going to do is say player controller dot instance dot add health. And the health amount we want to add is the health amount. Obviously, we still want to destroy the pickup when we do it. So let's go back in here, go back to our health pickup, add that script in there, and we're going to make this a prefab also. So we click and drag this, drop it in there. There we go, we got our health pickup. So let's test that out now, press play. We've got our health pickup. So let's first test it out. If we go and pick that up, we shouldn't get any change to our health because we don't want to go above 100. So perfect, that apparently is working. Who knows, it could be completely not working. We'll find out in a second, but it should absolutely be working. Okay, so we've taken some damage. We'll run over here. Whoa, before I do that, I just realized our health pickup. Okay, we have it healing by 25 by default. That's fine. I wanted to make sure it wasn't set on to 0 by default. So now I'm going to pick it up and bang, our health goes back up to 100. We've healed the correct amount. So perfect. Our health is working the way we want it to. We're healing away the way we want it to. We're able to display that stuff on the screen. But there's a couple of other little things we want to do. First of all, if I play, it's really annoying that you can see the mouse. Having the mouse on screen at all times is really not good for this kind of game. So I'm going to stop that running. So we're going to just quickly make sure that we don't see that on screen. So for that, I'm going to go into my scripts folder. I'm going to create a C# script that will call, we'll put this in a game manager script, because this is a fairly overarching thing. We're not actually going to use a game manager in this series at the moment, but potentially for your own game, this is something that you would want to place in a game manager type object, so you were controlling something like this, and you're able to, say, if you pause the game and stuff like that, when you start getting that going, you'll want to use that from a game manager. So I'm going to, below our update loop here, I'm going to create two functions. I'm going to create a private void lock cursor. That'll be what makes the mouse hide. And we're also going to create a private void unlock cursor. And the reason we do this is because obviously you want to hide the mouse when you're running around and playing, but you also want your players to be able to get out and be able to move their mouse around and click on other things if they want to. So in our lock cursor, all we do is say cursor.lockState equals cursor lock mode dot locked. And we also want to say cursor dot visible equals false. So that's how we lock it into position and make sure that the cursor isn't visible on the screen, and that stops the mouse accidentally leaving the screen or anything like that. We want to do the opposite for unlock cursor, so we want to say cursor dot lock state equals cursor lock mode dot none and cursor dot visible equals true. Okay, so when do we want these things to happen? Well, obviously, as soon as the game starts, we want to make sure the cursor is locked so it doesn't go running around all over the place. So in start, we're going to call that lock cursor function like that. And then in our update loop, whenever the player hits the escape button, we're going to unlock the cursor. So if input.get key down, and the key code we're looking for is the escape button, because that's a fairly standard default button that most people would use in that situation. And then when that happens, we're going to unlock the cursor. But what about if you're playing the game, and for example in our editor here, if you unlock the cursor and you go and click on something else, you want to make sure if we click on the screen again, we'll relock it so that we're able to go back to playing our game. So if input dot get mouse button 0, so basically if we left click on the screen, we'll relock the cursor again. Okay, so we'll save that, go back in here. We're going to add a new object in. Actually, we'll add it to the UI canvas, because we're always going to have a canvas in our scene, so we'll always want to have the game manager in our scene, like so. So now if I press play, we should see my cursor disappear. There we go, our cursor is gone. So now I can move around and look around all over the place if I want to. And if I hit the escape button, oh, he's so far away I couldn't see if I was shooting him. If I hit the escape button now, there we go, we got our mouse appearing again. You can see I'm still looking around, but if I click anywhere else, it stops following me looking around. But if I click back on the screen again, our mouse disappears and we're able to actually go back to shooting. Okay, so perfect, that's working exactly what we want. And one final thing we want to do to improve the look of our little game here is make it so that when we walk, our player's head bobs up and down. So what we'll do is we'll get a camera, for example, and we're just going to move it up and down on the Z-axis as we walk, and it makes it feel more like those kind of classic style games where you had the head bobbing up and down as you moved. So for that, all we're going to do is add an animation to our little guy. So I'm going to make sure I have my player selected no matter what. We'll go to our animation tab here, and I'm going to create, we'll put this in our assets animations folder. So the first one we're going to have will be our player idle, like so. And that's just we're just going to leave that as default. We're not going to change that at all. The next one we'll have is a new clip called player moving. And in this, we're going to go to about 10 frames here. And what I'm going to do is record, and I'm going to go to the camera and change the value of this to be, let's say, 0.4. We'll try that. Then we're going to go to not to 20, because that'll be too far, or sorry, it'll be too fast of a movement up. We want a smooth movement up and down. So we're going to go to 30 here and change it to be 0.6. So it goes above the 0.5. And then we'll go to 40 here and change this back to be 0.5 again. So now if I press play, you should see in the camera preview our little guy bobbing up and down, which is perfectly fine. That's exactly what we wanted to do. So we're at 0.5 and we go all the way to 0.5 at the end. That's perfectly fine. Actually, what we might do is pull this back one frame. Yeah, that's okay. So we have that. Well, no, we leave this at 40. I think the way Unity's animation system works can be a little strange sometimes, so I'm going to leave it at that. So we have, that'll be our little bob animation. You might find that's a little bit too much or too little. You can always change those values to be closer to 5. It's up to your feeling in your own game. But we need to make sure that those things have a way of transitioning between them. So we're going to go to our animator tab here. We need to make sure we have our player selected so we have the right ones visible. Then we're going to add a parameter. We're going to add a bool that we'll call isMoving. And when our player is idle, we'll transition to player moving if isMoving is true. We don't want it to have an exit time, and we'll have a transition duration of 0.1. Should be okay. Yeah, that should be alright. So we'll do the same then, going back from player moving to player idle. We'll turn off the exit time, set our transition to 0.1, not a fixed duration. But down here we want to make sure that when we go from player idle to player moving, yes, isMoving is true, that makes sense. When we go back, we want to make sure that isMoving is false, like so. So then we need to obviously tell the animator to do this. So let's go back to our player. We'll open our player controller. We need a reference to that animator. So up here, we'll we'll put it with the other animator for the gun animation. So we're going to say public animator. Actually, we'll just call this anim because this is our kind of default animation system. And down here, what we're going to do is at the very bottom, as long as we haven't died, below our input for getting the mouse and everything like that, what we're going to do is check if move input is not equal to move input is a vector 2. I just want to make sure if move input is not equal to vector 2 dot 0. So if we're not vector 2.0, that means we've got some move input going on, so that means we must be trying to move. So in that situation, we want to say anim dot set bool. Well, that's not the right one there. Set bool. So I wish the autocomplete wouldn't always jump to the least used option sometimes. But we have anim dot set bool is moving, and we're going to set that to be true. And then we say else. So if our input is equal to 0, that means our player isn't pressing any buttons, so we don't want to be moving. So anim dot set bool is moving should be false. Save this, go back in. We're going to make sure we assign our animator into the slot that will appear. Here we go. So I'm just going to drag the player itself back onto there because that's what the animator is attached to. And then if we go back to our game view and hit play, let's maximize this so we can see things a little bit better. When we're standing still, we're staying where we are, but if we move backwards, you can now see our head bobbing up and down as we go. So perfect. That feels a little bit more like those classic kind of style games. We've now got our cursor locking, we've got a display of how much health and ammo we have, so we can now start kicking ass and worrying about whether we're going to die or not. Okay, so with that in mind now, we need to start moving out of this little empty arena we have and start making some actual levels for our game. So that's what we're going to do in the next episode. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more tutorial goodness in the very, very near future, and I'll see you all very soon.